So I came from California and I came to Maine. There's a whole story behind that, but I'll start with being in Maine. So I'm in Maine. I don't have a vehicle. Actually, I don't even think I had an ID to get a job. I couldn't even work. So I had no money. I was getting really depressed. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a few friends that were strung out. They couldn't really help me. And I knew that if I went back to California, that I could, get stuff going. I always seemed to financially be able to do well in California. Because I buy and sell things, and doing it in California, the population is just so great that being able to buy and sell is a lot easier out here. But I'm in Maine, and so I said, all right, I'm gonna try to get on Plenty of Fish. And so I got on Plenty of Fish, and I thought, all right, maybe I can meet a girl, and if I meet a girl, maybe I can find one with their own place and move in with her. And that's what I did. I found a girl. Her name was Sarah. She lived in Buxton, and she had a little cabin in the woods. Her parents had land, and she had this trailer on her parents' land. And it was really nice. Like, you would see deer walking by. Like, there's this big gigantic window, and you'd see deer just like walking by the window. Living in California, where you don't have a lot of trees and scenery like that, it was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm living in the woods, and this was around like the end of the summer. And we were there for a couple months, and it was getting ready to be winter, and so her mom said that we couldn't stay there in the winter because it was going to cost too much to heat the place. I guess it had was it like gas heating or something? I don't know, or electric heating. Yeah, it was electric, because we had those little space heaters. And so it was going to cost too much to heat it. So she wanted us to move out. I didn't have any money, so what I did is I went to AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and Sprint, all in wasn't the same day. It was like 2 days, or like a 5-day thing. Some of them I ordered online, and so when you sign up for AT&T, they'll either give you a phone for free that you got to pay off, or you got to put down a deposit. Like, let's say you got to put down $100 deposit, and they give you an iPhone, and you got to pay the iPhone off for whatever 36 months. And so I got 3 phones from each company. I think I got more from some, but it was about 3 phones per company. So and I got iPhones. At the time, it was the iPhone 5.
In 2 miles, take exit 64A to merge onto I-15 North toward Barstow.
At the time, it was the iPhone 5. This was in 2012 or 2013, somewhere around there. Yeah. And so I got a bunch of iPhone 5s, and I sold them all for $450 a piece. I found a landlord who was willing to work with us, and he gave us an apartment for $550 a month, and he let us break up the security deposit. So I think it cost, I want to say it cost like $700 to move. Or no, it wasn't $7. No, it cost us. Anyways, I used the money from the phones to move in. So we move in, and this place is cool. It's in Cape Elizabeth. It's a studio apartment, but it's nice. It's nice and warm. It's modern. It's got a modern fridge and brand new carpets and, really well done. It's got a laundry room. Cape Elizabeth is out in the country in Maine. It's like, well, it's on the coast, but it's also like in the countryside. And so, I mean, it's beautiful out there. You walk out the door, you see all these big, beautiful pine trees. Cape Elizabeth is a nice town. Very expensive. Not where I was living, but houses there. It's like prime real estate. It would be like Beverly Hills of Maine. But yeah, so I had that studio apartment, and me and Sarah were living there. I still had my drug habit going. My drug habit never stopped. I was doing heroin. I was snorting heroin at the time. And the fentanyl scene was like, some dealers would have fentanyl, some would have regular heroin. I always tried to get the fentanyl.
Use the second or third lane from right to take exit 64A to merge onto I-15 North toward Barstow.
Right, hold on, I gotta get over. I'm driving to Las Vegas right now, guys. Come on, let's go.
Take the exit,
Made it.
then keep left to merge onto I-15 North.
Alright, so, yeah, so we're living there.
Use the left 2 lanes to keep left.
We're living there, and, me and Sarah, we weren't really, I mean, technically we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but it was more like we're both kind of desperate. Like, I just kind of wanted to be with somebody, and she wanted to be with somebody, and so we kind of just put up with each other, even though we had nothing in common. All we ever did was sit on the bed and watch DVDs, and we didn't even like the same DVDs. So I was always snorting the heroin, and I remember one day Sarah was at work. Sarah worked at Black Bear Medical, sold like medical supplies, and she was always gone. And so we're there, and my friend Jay, he'd always say, dude, he said, well, why are you sniffing it? You're wasting it if you're sniffing it. He's like, you gotta shoot it, man. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to shoot it, And so one day, I was brave enough, and I said, all right, Jay. I said, I want to try it out. I said, we're gonna put some in the spoon. We're
For
gonna
66 miles, continue straight.
So I said, all right, Jay, we're gonna try this out. We're gonna put some in a spoon. We're gonna heat it, and then we're gonna draw it up. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna turn the other way, and you're gonna shoot me up. And so that's what we did. I looked the other way, and try to get over. So I looked the other way, and Jay shoots me up. Immediately, I look at Jay, and I said, Jay, you were right. I was wasting it. I said, this feels wonderful. I said, this feels great. And at that point, I became an IV drug user. Just like that. Never wanted to sniff it again. Because like when you sniff it, you gotta sniff it, and then you get the drip, and then it's gotta drip, and then it takes 20 minutes to really like get your high going, and your nose is always messed up. But when you shoot it, you can bypass all of that and start feeling good immediately. So yeah, so my days of sniffing were over at that point. So then, I'm always taking trips to CVS to get needles and stuff. And so it becomes a daily thing of just hiding my needles from Sarah. We would get, we'd nod out and forget a needle, and Sarah would find it, and I'd blame it on Jay, or, make up some crazy excuse about how it wasn't mine. And she was always finding needles, always. And I was always making up a new excuse about how I had tried it and wasn't doing it, or it wasn't my, I don't know. I would always make up different excuses. At the time, it sounded like good excuses, but looking back, like, I'm sure she didn't believe a word that came out of my mouth. But Sarah only had one ovary, and I had girlfriends in the past, and I had never gotten anybody pregnant. And so I thought, honestly, I thought something was wrong with my body. I thought I couldn't have children. And Sarah thought because she had one ovary that she couldn't have children. And I'm 29 years old at the time. Sarah is 24 or 25, and we both want to have children. Like I'm afraid I'm going to get too old and never have children, and she's afraid that she won't be able to have children because she only has one ovary. So we start trying to have a kid, and it becomes like a weekly thing. Like we're constantly going to CVS to get pregnancy tests, and it's always negative. And so, I mean, we bought a lot of pregnancy tests, and it never worked. And so, yeah, we just thought that that's the way it was going to be. So, me and Sarah, I had my friends over, my friend Jay and my friend Ryan, childhood friends. I've known Ryan since I was 4. I'm still friends with Ryan. I've known Jay since we were 8. And so Ryan lived like 5 minutes from our house in our apartment in Cape Elizabeth. Jay, same thing, lived a few minutes. And so they were always over there. And Sarah hated them. Absolutely hated those guys. Sarah hated everybody, but particularly she hated them. More so Ryan, but she hated Jay too. And so me and Sarah get into a big fight. I remember I had taken Klonopin. Oh, Sarah got a Klonopin prescription, and so I would always, Klonopins were like my drug of choice. I love Klonopins. Always loved Klonopins. And so I would always try to find them, buy people's scripts off of them. And then when I would run out, I'd always beg Sarah for her Klonopins. I didn't know anything about withdrawal back then. I just thought that I wasn't feeling well. I didn't know that I was always going through withdrawals. But so I would always run out and I'd beg Sarah, can I just have one? Can I have one? And Sarah was actually pretty cool about it. She'd give me one. Sarah, I'm just not feeling good. Can I have 3? And she would. Like Sarah was actually cool about that. Even though she did love her Klonopins too, she would, maybe she felt bad for me or something, but she was cool about giving me Klonopins. And it did help. It really did help. Klonopins are the one. I had a hard time not abusing them, but they did help for like my anxiety and my whatever it is that I have. I got racing thoughts, and it always calms down the racing thoughts. And that was cool about Klonopins. Yeah, so my point was, so anyway, when I take Klonopins, I get, I'm not an angry person, but when I do Klonopins, I have this like anger side that comes out, and I say things that are really mean, and I never say mean things. You'll never hear me saying mean things about people, but Klonopin for some reason just brings it out of me. And I remember me and Sarah got into a fight, and I said some mean things to her, and she said she was going to pack her crap and she was going to leave. And so she did. She grabbed all of her stuff, all of her DVDs. She had a lot of DVDs. She grabbed her dishes. I don't think we had a TV. Oh, we used her laptop. She grabbed her laptop and she bounced. She left. And so it was just me, Jay, and Ryan there, and we were actually pretty happy. We were like, geez, now we don't have to hide our needles, and we can just sit around and get high. And rent, we didn't care about rent. We just weren't going to pay it. Like rent just didn't matter to us. We just figured we would just party until I got kicked out. But anyways, so Sarah leaves, and we had gotten some iPhones through Jay's name, and we got an iPad through Jay's name. And our drug dealer said, if you give me an iPad, it was brand new, sealed in the box. It was the iPad. Let's say it was the 3rd generation one. But at the time, the 3rd gen was like pretty sweet. We gave it to him sealed in the box. He said, if you give that to me, he says, I'll give you guys a finger of dope. A finger of dope is 10 grams. Now, for some of you guys probably watching this, that's not a lot, but to us, a finger was like a lifetime supply. So we thought, but yeah, so we ended up, his name was Money. His name was Justin, but his nickname was Money. So, yeah, so Money gives us a finger, and we basically just lock ourselves in the apartment with that 10 grams of dope. We're selling, a little bit of it so we can, buy other drugs and stuff. But for the most part, we did it all. And, yeah, so we're in there and just slamming dope all day long. Just us. Nobody else ever came over. It was just us. I think Ryan was always like getting girls. Maybe Ryan invited some girls over, but for the most part, it was just us three. And we're in there for about a month. And about a month later, we get a knock on the door. We think it's the police, right? Nobody ever knocks on the door. And so I look and I'm like, yo, it's Sarah. And so immediately we're like, all right, we gotta hide the needles. So we hide all the needles, and I open up the door, and I'm actually happy to see her. Even though I wasn't in love with her, I did like Sarah. She had good qualities about her. And so Sarah comes in, and she says, Ryan was there, and Ryan had just gotten Leah pregnant. And so Ryan is like getting high, celebrating like that he's gonna have another kid. He was so happy about it. Ryan was so happy he was gonna have another kid. He thought Leah was gonna be the one that he stayed with for the rest of his life. And so Ryan's on cloud 9, knowing that Leah's pregnant, telling everybody. And his thing was always, I have a baby in the oven. So anyways, Sarah comes in, and immediately Ryan says, hey Sarah, guess what? Leah's pregnant, and I'm gonna have a baby. And Sarah goes, well, that makes 2 of us. And I'm thinking like, who are you sleeping with now, man, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? Who are you with now? I didn't know you were with anybody. And she gives me that look. And so keep in mind, I haven't spoken to her for a month. This is the first, since she left, this is the first time in a month, right? I'm like, what do you mean, Sarah? I'm like we got pregnancy tests. I said it's negative. She goes, well, she says, and I think she knew that I was gonna say no, you're lying. I'm pretty sure she knew that. So when she comes and she says, nope, I went to a doctor, I had tests done, I have paperwork, and I have proof that I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, and she says, and I haven't slept with anybody. And I believe, when she told me that, I believed her. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, whoa, is that possible? And so I start thinking, I'm like, all right, this day, and I'm thinking, well, I guess it's possible. But I'm like, you know what? I'm like, she's just trying to get back with me, right? Anyways, she really is pregnant. And so I'm like, okay, Sarah's pregnant. She's going to have my child. I want to patch things up with her. I want to have a family. And she needs to move back in. And Jay and Ryan are going to have to go, or at least just hang out in the other room. So she ends up moving back in the next day or something. And, once again, it's her hating Jay and Ryan and us sneaking around trying to get high and, have her not find out. But, wait, what happened? Oh, so when Sarah came back, I think me and the landlord had already talked about, he was going to evict us. So what ended up happening was I made a deal with the landlord. The landlord said, listen, because he didn't want us squatting there. He didn't want to go through this big legal thing. The landlord was actually pretty smart. His name was Eric Urbanik. Cool guy. He's still a realtor in Cape Elizabeth. A really cool guy, man. I did him dirty, but I wish I could go back, and I'm sorry, Eric. But Eric makes a deal with us. He says, look, Tim, he says, I'll give you back your $550 security deposit if you're out of here next week. and I'm a junkie. I'm running out of dope. I start packing up my stuff. I'm trying to be out tomorrow so I can get this 550 back. So, oh shoot, my battery. My battery's low, guys. So, I'm gonna plug this in. All right. So, Eric, we move everything out. Eric gives me back my 550. I spend it all on drugs. But what had happened is, how did this happen? So, Sarah's mother had a realtor connection, and the realtor was going to, because Sarah's mom lived in Buxton, and for some reason Sarah wanted to move to Biddeford. I don't remember why, it's been so long ago, but anyway, she had a realtor friend, and the realtor had an apartment in Biddeford and said that we could move in, and Sarah's mom was like gonna pay the security deposit. I don't know, but we got it paid. We went to look at the apartment. The apartment was huge, like probably 7 times the size of the studio that we were living in. We moved into, like, in Maine, it's like, these are all old-fashioned buildings, and they're huge. It's like, it would be like a mansion, and it's a mansion converted into apartments, you know, like 1st story, 2nd story, 3rd story. This was a 4-story. We were on the 4th story. The place was huge. I want to say it was like a 3-bedroom. It's 1 bathroom, really old and rustic, like probably made like back in the 70s. It had those heaters that were just like those metal pipes that are like 4 feet tall, and they're in every single room, and you know, they're like made out of cast iron. It had old wallpaper. It looked really cool. Old appliances, high ceilings, really high ceilings, and a nice view of Main Street in Biddeford, which is, you know, nothing special about Biddeford, but it was a cool view. You know, you could see everything. You could see, you know, things going on at nighttime. Like, it was cool. I used to like, you know, just looking out the window and stuff. But it was a great apartment. So me and Sarah, we move into Biddeford, and so remember I told you I did the phone thing where I had gotten some money to move in. Well, that was something I continued doing. I would meet people and I'd say, hey, AT&T wants $100 deposit. Like, if I give you $100, can we go and put some cell phones in your name? And most of the people that I associated were junkies who didn't have any drugs or who needed more drugs, and so I would just pay somebody $100. We go and get some phones. I had some people who owned a taxi company. They were Somalian, and the Somalians would buy all my phones. I would have them sold before I even had them in my hand. Like, they would like prepay me for these phones. So I had a really I had a good little money scheme going with the cell phone thing, and that was something I was doing like every day. Like, it was like a full-time job. So me and Sarah moved to Biddeford. I'm doing my phone thing to support my habit. She is working at Black Bear Medical, and I'm doing pretty well. And my drug habit is, you know, I'm no longer being able to do a little bit. You know, I need more at this point. So yeah, so my habit is getting pretty crazy at this point. And hold on, I'm driving to Vegas. I gotta make sure that I'm okay. Yeah, I'm going the right way. Okay, so yeah, so we're living in Biddeford, and you know, me and Sarah, we're not getting along. Like, you know, she doesn't like my drug habit. She's pregnant, and I'm trying to make her as comfortable as she can, like, you know, cooking and just trying to do everything I can for her, because I was really excited about this baby. she didn't start showing until like around the 6-month mark. And I was really excited about the baby, man. Like, this is going to be my first kid. My name's Timothy. I already knew that I wanted to name my son Timothy. My dad's name is Timothy, so this is going to be Timothy the third. And I was really excited about it. I really was. And even though me and Sarah weren't in love, I was still pretty content with just being with her, just to have a family. I wanted to have a family. And I knew that if I could get on Suboxone at some point, that I could transition from heroin, fentanyl to Suboxone, and and get clean at some point. So that was the plan. The doctor calls us in to the hospital to do like a screening to check on the baby, do an ultrasound. Oh yeah, it was an ultrasound. So me and Sarah, we go to an ultrasound, and they get the thing, and they're looking at the baby, and they said the baby hasn't grown since 2 weeks ago, and they said that the baby is not eating, the placenta has stopped working, we need to induce labor, and the kid needs to come out today. And so like this was like 2.5 weeks before her due date. So I'm thinking I got 2.5 weeks to party until she's until the baby's coming out. We go for this appointment, and it's like, no, the baby's coming out and I'm just like, whoa, like I wasn't prepared at all. I was going to prepare it last minute. And so we go to the hospital, and they induce her. The inducing worked, or I don't know if it worked. Then they gave her that thing in the back, the epidural for pain, because she said she was in pain. She was all cuckoo. I joked with her. I went up to her. This is before the kid came out, and I said, Sarah, he's beautiful. Look at him. I was and she knew I was lying. She goes, shut up. And the kid ends up coming out. Oh, Sarah was smoking cigarettes and drinking the whole. I would always ask, like, please don't smoke. Well, you get a chain smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. Come on, it's my kid. Like I don't tell you what to do, Sarah. Like, I get it. I do drugs, but like you're like, can you just like lay off the cigarettes? Like, all the sodas. I could handle all the sodas. Just can you just like lay off the? And she wouldn't. She smoked 2 packs the whole pregnancy. Chain smoked, actually, and that really bothered me. But there was nothing I could do about it. And so the kid's born. He's 4 pounds, premature. They didn't even, the preemie diapers wouldn't even fit him. They had to use cloth diapers until he gained some weight. They put a bottle in his mouth, and he immediately just chugs the whole bottle. And we had done an ultrasound, and so we had a picture of the ultrasound and what he was. When he came out, and like my whole life, I had always pictured what I thought. I always knew I was gonna have a son, or wanted to have a son. And I always pictured like what my son would look like. Like I had this image in my head. When he came out, he looked exactly what I thought he was always going to look like. And in the ultrasound, he looked like me. And it was a blurry picture. Then when he comes out, he looks just like me. And it was weird, like to a T, like everything. Nose, eyes, ears, like exactly what I thought he was going to look like. So he comes out, he's premature. He stays in the hospital, I want to say, for like 3 days. I'm happy, but I've got this crazy drug habit, and so I'm like, I remember I had my iPhone. I remember I called the Somalian guy and sold like my phone, my personal phone, so I could get some money and buy drugs. So I had the drug dealer meet me at the hospital, and so I'm shooting up in the hotel. I'm shooting up in the hospital room, while all this is going on. And back then, I thought nobody knew, but I'm sure everybody knew. But yeah, so I got this habit, and so the kid comes home, and we get this nice apartment for him. He's got a swing, and I remember wanting to spend time with the kid, but having this habit, and if I didn't feed my habit, I would get so sick. So I remember like how bad it was And I remember wanting to hold my son, and I remember Sarah was somewhere, I don't know where she was, in the shower, or maybe she was sleeping, I don't remember, but I was with the kid, and I remember not having any dope, and I remember holding the kid, like trying to cuddle with the kid, and like just, because the kid, you know, babies can't sit up by themselves, and so I'm like trying to nurture this child, and I remember just being so sick that I couldn't nurture the kid, and I thought, wow, this is really bad. Like, this is, like, I want to be there for my kid, but physically I can't. I'm so sick. And so I was depressed about that. My lifestyle had made me really depressed, and Sarah was fed up with it. And we had a neighbor who Sarah had befriended, the neighbor on the 3rd floor. And the lady on the 3rd floor knew that I was a junkie. Called the Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services comes over to do a welfare check, and I play it off real cool. I wore a long sleeve shirt so that they couldn't see my track marks. You know, they come in. I didn't take a shot. I didn't do a shot before they came. And, you know, I played it off. Oh no, everything's fine. Oh, nobody's doing drugs up here. Oh, that woman's crazy. and they believed it. But it scared Sarah, rightfully so. Sarah told her mom, it scared her mom. So Sarah's mom had convinced her. Oh, and we also hadn't paid rent. So, and the landlord was like evicting us or something. So Sarah's mom says, all right, Sarah, I want you to come back and live with me. You can bring the baby, but Timothy can't come. I can't come. And I wanted to stay together, and so my aunt had a nice big house in South Portland, which was like 20 minutes away, and my aunt said that me and Sarah and the baby could come live there. Oh, because my dad and my aunt lived together. My aunt had a house. She had gotten divorced and kept the house, and my dad was living there. A nice big house, great place to have a baby and raise the baby. And so my plan was, no, Sarah, let's go to my aunt's house. My dad's there. My cousin lived there. And we can all be together. My aunt was going to give us a room, nice room, really nice room. And we could just stay in that room and, you know, and raise the kid until we were able to get back on our feet. And she didn't want to do it. She said no. She says, we can stay together. You know, me and you will stay together, but I don't want to go, because she didn't like my aunt for some reason. I don't think she had a problem with my dad, but she didn't like my aunt for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, so she wouldn't go, and so that really like made me upset, because I wanted to stay together, and you know, I didn't want to be without my son. So of course, she moves to her mom's house. Her mom bans me from the house. So here I am. Now I'm banned from my son. I can't see my son. And, you know, getting really depressed at this point. So, I was like suicidal depressed. Like very, very, very depressed. Where I didn't care about living. I didn't care about life. I didn't care about anything. I had never been to jail like longer than, I think I did a 2-week stay one time, but I had a concussion, so I don't really remember being there. But yeah, I'd never really done a real term in jail. So keep in mind, my drug habit is still very much alive. And so I decide, okay, instead of like finding somebody to go and get some phones and we like buy them and, you know, put the deposit down and then sell them to the Somalians, instead of that, I'm just gonna go and steal the phones and then sell them to the Somalians, because it's a lot less work. And I'm strung out. I don't care about life. My kid is gone. I'm not allowed to go over there, and so that's what I did. I went to AT&T and Verizon stores, and I've already been convicted for all this, so I can talk about it. I've already been to prison for it. so I went to the store. I said, yeah. I said, I'd like to buy 2 iPhone 5s. They said, all right, what gigabyte and what color? I said, oh, I'd like that in 64 gigabyte and space gray. 1 in black, please. Oh, and 1 in silver if you got it. Oh, you only have white? No problem, take the white. Sure. Okay, sir, I'll be right back. So then they go to the back, they unlock the phones, they get them, they bring them out, and they put them on the counter, and they say, all right, can I have your ID and to get this started? And so I said, yeah. I said, no problem. And I said, hold on. I said, are these 64 gigabytes? And I picked them up, you know, and I'm looking on the back. Are these the ones that I want? And then boom, just grabbed them and ran out. Getaway drivers there. And yeah. So I did that about, I think I did it about 7 times. Got convicted on all of it. That can be another story. But anyways, I do it at AT&T. Same thing. Get the phones, run out. The guy who was at the store was an ex-Marine, and my thing was like, when I would go to the stores, if the clerks at the store were in like really good shape and they looked like they could run, I would not do it, and I'd go to another store. And if the employees were fat and out of shape, then that would be my target. But this particular day, I had been drinking, I had taken some Clonopins, and I wasn't sick this day, and I had dope. It was really sloppy. I go into the store, it's this dude, he's in really good shape, but being under the influence, I thought I could get away with it. So I get the phones, I run out, he comes out, he tackles me, a civilian comes over, Good Samaritan, holds me down, calls the police come, and that was it. And so, yeah, so they picked me up and they brought me to jail. So I will continue in part 2 and let you know what happens from here on out in part 2. Thanks.